Hello, my name is Gemma and I'm from the Wishing Well project. This presentation is about sensory exploration, the different senses and sensory processing. The sensory systems include a variety of systems. They are the auditory system. This refers to the sense of hearing. The olfactory system, this refers to the sense of smell. The oral sensory system, this refers to the sense of taste. The vestibular system, this refers to how we sense where our bodies are in space. The proprioceptive system, this refers to our sense of the way our bodies move. The tactile system, this is our sense of touch. The visual system, and this is the sense of sight. And the interoceptive system, and this is the system which is responsible for a general sense of our body's physical condition, such as hunger, thirst, and internal discomfort. Quite often when people refer to senses, they think of taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing, and those are the only ones that people think of. But actually there's a little bit more to it than that, and there's a little bit more depth than that. So, moving on to sensory processing. So, you may have heard this referred to, and you may be thinking, well, I'm not quite sure what that's referring to. So, just to give that a little bit of clarity for you. Sensory processing is the way that children's bodies receive and analyze and are responding to signals in the environment, and how they therefore react to that. Quite often children can be overstimulated by the environment, so that often can lead to their presentation being quite agitated or anxious, and I've often heard the phrase meltdown, or they've been very upset and really expressive. But also in a learning environment, which I think sometimes can be forgotten, children can sometimes be quite unresponsive and withdrawn. So that is also reacting to their sensory experiences. So they can be unresponsive to their surroundings. And so as well as being overstimulated and becoming overwhelmed, children can be unresponsive. And obviously at some points they can need more stimulus. Sensory experiences are extremely powerful, and they can sort of rewire the brain. So that what sensory experiences young people and children have are very important. Children's sensory needs are across a spectrum, and like a rainbow. Sometimes children will seek more sensory stimulus, and sometimes they will want less. And it can depend on all the different varieties of the senses as well. So it could be that a young person might particularly seek a lot of sound, but they might withdraw and not want a lot of visual stimulus. So they might seek something in one area but not seek it in another area. Sometimes as well, when they're seeking particular behaviours, it can come across their behaviour sometimes as socially an unacceptable way in which they're seeking it. So some of their behaviours, particularly in a school environment, it might be that their behaviour has been brought up in a way where it's sort of been brought up as a unacceptable way that they've been trying to satisfy the urge that they've got because they want that feeling or that sensation. Children can seek and avoid sensory stimulus and find themselves sometimes in the middle of the spectrum. So, as I mentioned, sometimes they can be seeking certain things, sometimes they can be avoiding certain things, or sometimes they can be at one end. So sometimes they can be quite strong in terms of seeking things, or sometimes they can be more avoidant in quite a few areas. All children are different, so this does make the situation quite complex and quite complicated, because it's unlikely that you're going to get children that are the same. So some top tips about sensory experiences. It is good to allow children and allow children to get messy. Children experience the world with their entire bodies, so encourage children to use their whole bodies when a sensory experience is available. So consider more than just hands. If hands is not something that they're keen on using, consider using feet, consider other parts of the body. This play will encourage them to get more involved. Try and involve the different senses, try and involve hearing, try and involve sight, try and involve taste and smell and movement. It will encourage children to be more curious and more questioning and more imaginative. So those are all really positive things. Sensory activities, they can either be independent or they can be guided. So if it's more of an independent activity, then you're just allowing the child to be creative and you're just encouraging independent thinking. However, if you're deciding to do it as a guided activity, then it could be that you're trying to encourage tolerance of a particular material for an extended period, or it could be that you're trying to model motor skills or concentration and develop concentration when engaging with an activity. A guided activity also offers the opportunity to model and play and maybe demonstrate some pretend play. So there's different benefits from if you were trying to do a sensory independent activity or a guided activity. If you put a sensory activity out and your child is a little bit cautious to engage in the activity, then try and recognise that and respond to that. Don't try and push them into doing the activity. Initially, let them kind of observe and just watch. They might want to watch somebody else doing the activity. Maybe you could do the activity and let them watch you. Even if they just spend time watching you and are enjoying watching you, that's progress. If they're coming to sit near and observe you doing it, or maybe observe a sibling doing it, that's good progress. You could then think about how to adapt the activity so that it's less intense. Could you offer gloves so they don't need to touch it directly? Could you offer some utensils so they don't need to touch it directly? Can you think about how you could make it sort of less of an impact? If a child is really keen to get involved and just really wants to get in there, if it's like a painting activity, you could take the brushes away, allow them to use their fingers. Could you, if it's the right environment, allow them to use their feet? Could you add a texture to the paint maybe? Could you make it like a sand in the paint, or could you put glitter in the paint? So think about how you can adapt the activity that you're offering to sort of match the child's curiosity, or if they're a little anxious, is there a way that you can kind of make it more acceptable to them and more kind of fit in with where they're at the moment. A variety of sensory activities are really beneficial for children. It does support healthy development in children. If you try and do too much too soon, it will overwhelm them. It will be too much for them. So try and go at their pace. Try and build on their previous experiences. Add in little things in. What you do with them will be of relevance, but try and develop it in stages. Try and build on what they had experience of. So if you would like any further details, here are my contact details. I'm based at Wishing Well, which is at Jubilee House, off the Astor car park in Crewe. I'm there Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. Our office number is 01270 256 919. And if you'd like to drop me an email, my email address is gemma.edwards@wishingwellproject.net. I hope you found the presentation useful and that you'll be able to use some of the information with your own child. Thank you.